Welcome to At Issue. Thank you so much for being with us again. My name is H. Wayne Wilson. Looking back just a couple of years when the tornadoes hit East Peoria, Washington, and Pekin in November of 2013, and the tornado that hit Cameron and the one that hit Delavan in July of this year, people rallied, they got together, they made houses good, they made sure insurance was taking care of things, etc. But later, internal conflict occurs. We're going to talk about how to cope with that, the best coping mechanisms, and the help that you can reach out for on the next half hour of At Issue. And to help do that, I welcome to the program Tegan Hewitt. Tegan is the Vice President of Behavioral Health for Children's Home Association of Illinois. And also with us is Corey Campbell. Corey is a clinician with the Human Service Center, and both organizations have dealt quite a bit with individuals who have indicated that they've had some stress in their life. We're going to talk about how stress manifests itself in just a moment. But first, I want to talk about why we were more ready than we might have been when the tornadoes hit in the month of November 2013. Why was it that we were just a little bit ahead of the curve?
Yeah, we'd actually started working ahead of time, and we were already sort of responding to a previous natural disaster, which was the flooding of that same spring that had occurred. And a group had come together to form the Long-Term Recovery Committee, which really looked at how we could help in a holistic sense. So mental health being just one aspect of it, along with how we could help through the Red Cross with different types of crisis relief, both in sorts of physical gains back. So we were already sort of in the beginning stages of putting that group together and started working together, but it really took off after the tornadoes that occurred.
In Long-Term Recovery Committee, is there a short definition of what its goal was? I mean, you respond to natural disasters, but what is it that you're hoping to accomplish?
Really, the hope is to help in a holistic sense with the entire recovery process. So working with anything from goods that you might need post-disaster to different types of services, whether it be construction services, whether it be legal representation, or even mental health care. How to get access to those in a quick fashion, and especially if you were struggling with some sort of financial situation post-disaster as well.
I find it interesting that LTR, Long-Term Recovery, is an organization that is designed to go in and out of business.
Yes, so it's a reactive organization. You know, they do all the work on the front end, but once everything is settled, we want to fade back into the background and just be ready for the next time that we experience a natural disaster in our area.
I want to point out a couple of things. One is that Corey and Tegan both are members of the Spiritual and Emotional Care Subcommittee of LTR. And I want to make sure you understand, we're not talking just about the tornado in Washington or in Delavan or the floods in Peoria. We're talking about a natural disaster that could occur in any central Illinois community at any time, and how well prepared we are to handle the aftermath of that. And one of the ways it manifests itself is in trauma, personal trauma. What is the definition of trauma?
It's a really good question, and that's one that we hear a lot. What makes an event traumatic? What makes an event traumatic is that it's a situation that you weren't prepared for, that you maybe didn't have the coping skills to handle, that was beyond any level of stress that you've ever experienced before. We all handle stress on a daily basis, and what's stressful for me might not be stressful for you. But if I'm experiencing a level of stress that's beyond my capacity to cope, that's what classifies it as a trauma.
That makes it difficult, though, because it seems like it's very individual. The level of stress, the level of trauma could be very individual. I've got all these problems that I've internalized, and you look fine after the storm. Why are you okay and I'm not okay? And I don't want to talk about it.
Yeah, that's often what we see in these different cases is people that everyone responds to trauma individually. So, you know, there's no rhyme or reason of, you know, one person in one neighborhood's doing fine and the next person next door is doing fine, whether their houses are still there or not. We try to figure out and work with the people to see what kind of things that you could do as an individual to help yourself. So we're really looking at it from more of the individualistic perspective instead of that community perspective of, everyone's doing good, so I should be doing good as well.
Because you may have the false impression that your next door neighbor is doing just fine because every time you see him or her,
Right.
good to see you. Things are going great.
And that's very common after a natural disaster, and it's especially common when we're 2 years post a natural disaster. People are under the assumption that they should be fine by now, and they see their neighbors and they see their friends, and everyone appears okay, and so they believe that something must be wrong with them if they're not okay in the situation.
Is that partly because they've internalized, they've been so focused on the material things? I need to get the car replaced, I need to deal with the insurance company, I need to deal with my boss at work, and then later on,
When the dust settles, you start to realize that once you're resolving problems in other areas, when your finances are getting cleared up, when your house is rebuilt, that, wait a minute, I still have symptoms. I'm still feeling anxious. I'm still feeling depressed. I'm still wanting to avoid that route that I took to work previously. Those are lingering problems that people start to feel, especially 1 to 2 years after a disaster occurs.
so in the case of Washington, East Peoria, Pekin, or the floods along the Illinois River, 3 years now, I guess it's been, that there's still, that's when anxiety starts to fall into place. And you realize that things aren't right, and I don't know where to turn. What?
Yeah, it could be something as common as you start going back to work and you just realize maybe you're not as productive. It's what we call presenteeism, where the physical body is actually at work, but the mind's just not working, is not firing off as quick as it used to. And you start noticing those things. You start noticing that maybe it's hard to settle down at night, to get to sleep, to calm down. So maybe you take a drink and you engage what we call risky drinking, where you're just kind of using alcohol a little bit more than you would. You're not, full-blown what we would categorize or diagnose as alcohol abuse, alcohol dependence, but your level of drinking is increasingly rising because you're using it as a coping mechanism.
So what are some of the signs that people should look for in their own family, in their neighbors, in their friends, their relatives? Are there signs that, and he mentioned risky drinking.
Risky drinking, the inability to be as productive as you were before, not enjoying things that you used to enjoy previously, that's a definite warning sign for us. We also want people to be very aware of when they're starting to feel like their tolerance is becoming lower and lower. Like maybe they're getting angrier more quickly. Maybe they can't handle stress in the way that they used to before. All of these could be lingering symptoms of having gone through a traumatic situation.
And those things could lead to worse scenarios, abuse, for
Well,
instance?
we've done a lot of research talking to communities across the country that have experienced natural disasters, and what we've learned is that around this time, 2 years after a disaster, the community as a whole starts seeing increased rates of substance abuse, of depression, of domestic violence, of bullying in children, because these lingering anxiety symptoms and symptoms of post-traumatic stress are still there, and people don't know how to deal with them, and they're maybe not recognizing them as symptoms of trauma. So we are trying to be proactive with everyone who's gone through a natural disaster and let them know, hey, these symptoms might be coming, and here are some ways that you can cope with them.
So what might those be? Some examples of how to, a good coping mechanism.
Well, it's going to be individual for each person. Coping is not a one-size-fits-all approach or strategy in terms of the healing process. What we want people to do is to first talk to someone. It doesn't have to be a therapist or a counselor or someone who works at Human Service Center. It can be your pastor, it can be a friend, it could be a family member, and just express some of those feelings that you're having. That's a perfect first step for people.
Is there value to, I rebuilt the house, I got a new car, and I've got to establish a new normal. And we tend to, well, I wish things were like they used to be. So we look at establishing a new normal to know that it's okay, that I can still participate in the old activities. I can go to church, I can go to bingo, but there are some things that are going to be new.
Right. So the perfect example would be you could rebuild your house exactly the same way. You could make it look exactly spot on the same as it was prior to it being destroyed. And whatever disaster you want to talk about, it's still not going to be the same because you're not the same. Trauma changes people. And, so that's why you always hear that phrase, the new normal, because you have to figure out who you are after a trauma. And some people are able to develop that very quickly, and some people it takes time. And what we want people to understand is if it takes time, that's okay, but you need to be getting help at this point if you're still really struggling.
And you can focus on your strengths.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
I suppose identify them first and then focus on those strengths.
Yeah. Yeah, finding those things that work for you, because it's going to be individualized for everyone, right? So maybe deep breathing exercises work really well for me, but for Tegan, it doesn't work at all. Tegan needs to talk to someone, and that's fine.
Or it might be a new hobby.
Yeah. I think a message that we want to make clear through our subcommittee is that people can grow to be stronger than they were before they experienced a disaster. It's not always an issue of adapting and changing into someone who is not as resilient. Usually people become more resilient, more adaptable, and they find and discover strengths in themselves after having gone through an experience like this that makes the rest of their lives more productive and better. So there's a lot of opportunity and hope here for people.
In describing these mechanisms for coping, I get the impression we've been talking about adults. Is it different for children? Should parents look differently at their child? Because we know the phrase, they're resilient. So
It's absolutely different. We as adults, we've been practicing our coping skills for decades. Children are not as resilient as adults. They have fewer coping skills. Their ability to manage stress is much smaller than adults, and they don't really have the tools and mental capability to process all of the information that they're receiving and to process that situation. So just in the same way we're asking adults to see, are you really okay? Ask your child too. Start to notice behavior differences in your children or ways in which they're not acting the way they did before they experienced a disaster.
and it's important to ask, but not just ask, but to look, because they may not share.
Right, yeah. So that's where, it comes down to parenting 101, right? Having that good connection with your kids, where you're talking with them, checking in with them, you know who they're hanging out with, and you're talking to them too. So you're getting multiple perspectives on what's going on, and not just asking, are you doing okay? And then the person says, yeah, and then that's it.
I know that LTR was in communication with folks down at Joplin, in Moore, Oklahoma, et cetera. How much of a value has come from that? Have you talked to individuals down in those communities?
Yeah, we've actually talked to both the similar representatives of LTR in those different communities as well as we've passed it on now to talking to the LTR committees in Rochelle, Illinois, post their tornado, to kind of really, share lessons learned. So we've had this great relationship with both of those communities that you mentioned, Moore and Joplin, where we've checked in with them periodically and said, okay, we're at this timestamp post-disaster. What did you guys see? What ideas do you have? What kind of things did you try? So a lot of the stuff that happened in Washington was, also used in Moore, used in Joplin. Right after the tornadoes, the churches of the Washington Ministerial Association made a point of having these open houses, block parties.
The block
is what
parties,
they called
right.
them. Yeah, and they brought the communities back together because people had been fragmented from communities, so they hadn't seen their neighbors in a couple months. They hadn't seen the people down the block because everyone was scattered. So that came from Moore and Joplin. Those were things that they pulled together to do in their communities to keep that connectiveness going, even in the time of recovery.
In our world of social media, has that made a difference in how we are dealing with the aftermath of a natural disaster?
Absolutely. I mean, we start to see mottos for towns emerge after they experience a natural disaster, such as Washington Strong, that came out of the disaster. And people are using social media, Facebook, Twitter, to keep that level of connectedness there with their neighbors and to process through some of the experiences that they've had.
Washington Strong just changed, or I should say the city of Washington just changed their phrase from Washington Strong to All In for Washington, the numeral 4, All In for Washington. I think it's hashtag All In for Washington. Why would they? I mean, Washington Strong, we all recognize it. It's a nice, concise term. It fits on the T-shirt real nicely, that bright orange T-shirt, etc. And now they've changed almost 2 years later.
Yeah, well, from our vantage point and looking at it from a mental health perspective, it's a great motto. It's a great rally cry that brings people together, lets us feel like we're all in it together. You see this like, Washington Strong, Boston Strong after the Boston Marathon bombings. And it's a great motto, and it serves a great purpose in bringing people together and making us feel unified. From a mental health perspective, though, what happens if you're not Washington Strong? If you're that person that sees everyone saying, oh, we're going to be strong, we're in this together, and you're struggling. You're feeling lots of anxiety, you're not leaving the house. You see all these other people that are sort of gritting their teeth and bearing it and pushing through, and you're not. And that can be a damaging sort of mental health arena that can leave people feeling like they're on an island, or that they're weaker, or it goes back to resiliency, that maybe they feel they don't have as much resiliency as the other people that are saying they're Washington Strong. So we have to measure the pros and cons of using slogans like that post-disaster, because it has the potential to alienate some people that are really struggling and need that help but aren't going to reach out for it.
Because people are, it's unacceptable to show weakness when Washington Strong is the motto. All In for Washington is to recognize, celebrate, and promote all that is good and great in Washington. So it's kind of a rallying cry. They actually promote, Shop Washington, et cetera. Smaller communities, Washington, relatively large, and the impact was huge in Washington. When you have a smaller community, Cameron, only 600 people, Delavan had 51 homes. That's a lot of homes in Delavan. Is there a different approach when you're looking at a smaller community than when you're looking at an urban area like Peoria?
From a mental health perspective, there really isn't. Our approach is making sure that we are educating the affected communities in what can happen after a disaster occurs. Through the United Way, we've done some work to create a trauma resource guide for communities, and we've actually sent that out to affected towns, not only in Illinois, but in Texas, in Idaho, in places where natural disasters are occurring across the country. We want to help teach the public that these are symptoms that can happen. Here's a step-by-step guide for you as to how to handle this. And this was what might happen 2 years later. We're trying to get that message out so that communities can learn how to adapt to trauma and to move forward.
As a matter of fact, that booklet is called Rebuilding Hope After Natural Disaster, and it is available. It can apply to urban, rural areas, but I would assume that individuals in rural areas are, Cameron's pretty far removed from Peoria, and it's on the other side of Galesburg, it's in Warren County. And Delavan's in southern Tazewell County. A little bit harder to access services?
Definitely, there is always that access problem, and what we look at is where do we focus our energies on areas where the highest amount of the population is going to be. So you often look for those rural hubs, right? And most rural hubs are usually churches. Every small town usually has one or two churches. In Washington, we were blessed with the fact that they have 12 churches. So it was a very large church organization, and the Ministerial Association was a very powerful partner in helping spread the word about mental health care and working with the residents of Washington. So in those more rural locations, you really look for those hub centers of town where you might get the highest amount of people. So often it's partnering with the different religious organizations or religious leaders of those areas.
And of course, there is a campaign that's going to be coming up, a billboard campaign based on 211.
Yes. So the United Way has been working with our subcommittee to help start a public education campaign about symptoms that happen 2 years after a natural disaster, increases in depression, in domestic violence, and in substance abuse. And this campaign is called You've Survived One Disaster, Don't Let It Lead to Another. And we're trying to educate people about the fact that you've already been through this traumatic situation. We need to be attentive to these symptoms that you're experiencing now so that you can return back to a level of functioning that's healthy for you.
And the audience is seeing that that has three different aspects to it: violence and depression and addiction. And of course, the bottom line is 211, or if you don't have a telephone nearby, you can go to 211hoi.org. 211, a quick explanation for people that may not be aware of it.
211 is a hotline that you can call that will direct you to wherever you need to be. It is a mountain of resources, essentially. You call 211 and you can get an answer about any problem that you're having. So it could be mental health, it could be housing, it could be food. They will direct you to the right source. So it's kind of like a catch-all number where we can send people and we know they're going to get to the place they need to go.
I want to look at the future if that's possible, because we know at some point a natural disaster will occur again, whether that be river-oriented, sky-oriented, ground-oriented. How prepared are we, in your estimation, having gone through what we've gone through?
Well, we're further down the line than we were. So if you look at the evolution, we're further than we were 5 years ago when a tornado hit Elmwood. And then there was the floods, and then there was the tornado that hit the Tri-County area, Washington, East Peoria, Pekin. And so we're further along in terms of our preparedness, in terms of the things we have built, and in terms of the connections we have to be able to respond. The long-term recovery is going to go dormant here in a couple months, but we're going to maintain that connection through a different thing called a COAD, which means that we're on standby and we have all the structure built, we have all the resources already in line. It's just a matter of flipping a switch and turning the LTRC back on.
So it's not going to be abandoned, it's just going to lie dormant until needed. The structure's still in place.
Right, the structure's still in place. It still has officers, it still has people in charge of the different sections of the LTRC. It's just that we're going to more of a dormant, more of a continuing to work on preparedness as opposed to response.
At Children's Home Association and also at Human Service Center, did you learn anything during this experience that you didn't know before or had not anticipated?
Absolutely. I think the biggest lesson that we learned was how to truly collaborate with these partner agencies and the importance of us being ready for this to happen again. After the disasters, a lot of people were scrambling to find help and sending out counselors and calling place after place. And now we know that we need to take a more strategic approach in the community to collaborate ahead of time and be proactive with the kind of response.
I can't agree more with Tegan that our collaborations as agencies have grown. And traditionally, we used to be the same sort of animals fighting for the same food, given the state of Illinois and the budget circumstances. But now it's a higher level of collaboration is what the good thing that's really come out of this is working on further planning and on further education towards this fighting the stigma of mental health is really where we've been operating a lot of our efforts towards right now.
And I assume after listening to your conversation that this expands beyond just those that provide mental health services, that you mentioned the churches and there have been other groups that have participated that you wouldn't normally say, oh, well, we need to turn to so-and-so.
Absolutely. It really is a matter of taking a systemic approach to the community and bringing in all partners from schools, churches, physicians' offices. We have to have a coordinated effort to make sure that we can keep our community healthy and safe and stable.
Reminder that if you have issues, there is no hesitation in your mind that you should be calling 211 or go to 211hoi.org. And that billboard campaign will run from November 9th to January 3rd as presently scheduled. So we'll be seeing more publicity about the 211 campaign. Is there a final suggestion that you might have for our viewers in terms of being able to better cope?
Well, I think the big thing is that if you're struggling, talk to someone. That going around and carrying it inside of you might feel like it's the right thing to do for you at the time, but you're going to start noticing things. Our ability to handle stress, to handle trauma is like a gas tank. And eventually that gas tank wears out if you don't do something to recharge it. So talk to someone. It doesn't have to be a counselor. It'd be great if it was, but if it isn't, talk to your religious leader, talk to a family member, talk to a friend, just talk to someone.
And taking that first step and saying, I'm struggling, is that important first step.
Absolutely, and that's usually the hardest step to take. So it's important that people remember that it's okay to not be okay.
It's okay to not be okay, and it's okay to end this program at this point in time because we've run out of our half hour. I certainly appreciate the conversation, and I hope that you and the audience will take time to realize what may be happening in your own family or your neighbors or your friends, and take that initial step to find out that it's okay to be not okay. And I say thank you to Tegan Hewitt.
Thank you.
Tegan is Vice President of Behavioral Services at the Children's Home Association of Illinois, and to clinician Corey Campbell, who is with the Human Service Center. Corey and Tegan, thank you both, and thank you for your service to all the people that have found needs recently. And we thank you for joining us on At Issue. We'll be back next week with another edition. This time it will be the mayor and the city manager of Peoria. They're facing different kinds of issues, and we'll discuss those next time on At Issue.